Hello and welcome to another episode of Woodward's Watercolours. Today's is a nice little simple episode, and what we're going to look at today is using Derwent Inktense as a means of embellishing what we've already painted. It's just this lovely relaxing tool, and I very rarely have the reference image, or I'm not sitting in front of the place like I was in Coltonga or up Carnmoney Hill. It's not plein air. It's just this lovely gentle finishing touch of bringing this little just stroke into the final piece to be able to just cause it to embellish and just have that little bit of pizzazz. So come on and let's have a look at this lovely process together.
Okay, so this is a little painting that I did. If you've seen the video, it was looking at that in the South Fine Art watercolour paint, which I didn't think was wonderful. And then I've got my bespoke set of the Derwent Inktense watercolour pencils, and so I deliberately went for this because I knew that it had all the colours that I wanted. So what I'm simply going to do, this one is Payne's Grey, which is 2110, and I am simply going to, just from memory, look to see areas. So this is the, obviously with the Payne's Grey, I'm looking to darken it down and to bring just a little bit more detail into this. The thing that I love, that I know that some people don't like at all about the Inktense, is that actually you get this, the residue of the brush marks, which is just wonderful. And also the other thing is that I know that I'm going to, this should make this much nicer, and also, or not much nicer, feel more complete and feel more kind of substantial. And it'll, and also I get the joy of adding in water again, which I absolutely love. I just think it's this, it's like, do you ever remember you used to get those comic books as a kid? Now I was born in 79, so we're talking through the 80s and early 90s, when you just added water to it and it just came alive. It just really felt like magic. Okay, so what I'm looking for is, that's light olive. So we've got light olive, which is 1540, and we've got olivine, which is 1340. So we're going to give these two a go. So let's give this light olive a whirl. So we're going to get it, just bringing in some definition. And also just that brushwork. I mean, you can bring some distinction between the bits of the, you know, the trees and the shrubbery and all those things as well, and that's a good match for that tone there. Look at that. And then we should have the Sienna Gold, which is 0240. It's actually, those tones are actually perfect, really. Bringing them into, just bringing them in at that point. And also we can, let's swatch out the Sienna Gold for the amber and the tan. So the tan's 1720, if you can see that, and the amber is 1710. So I think the amber is the one that is quite electric when it gets going. Okay, and let's just bring in a little bit of that into across here. This is the tan, the 1720 one. The other thing that I want to do is try and to bring a little bit more definition into the tree over here. So we're going to look at this beach green. This is 1510. Giving, and do you know what? I'll give it a little sharpen. Now, there was a comment made about how this sharpening is such a waste. I mean, part of me understands that, but for me, I have to say that links to this sort of poverty mindset of, oh goodness, I can't possibly use something because if I don't use it all, then it's going to be another waste. And I think sharpening a pencil is pretty legitimate. Now, I know also that some people, when they're sharpening the pencils, collect them and reuse them. I did try that once, but didn't really love it, to be honest. So that was the end of my dalliance with trying to use those pencil sharpenings. I just accept that that's just one little bit that's we just decide to abandon and get rid of. Now, the other one that we have here, if I used yet, is the oak. Now, the oak is interesting. It looks like it's a green, you know, from the bottom of it. The number for the oak is 1730. You can see there, does have that kind of a greeny sort of a tone to it. But, and I remember in the distance, some of these being more, now you could do more sort of, oops, do sort of more, you know, measured cross hatching. But actually what I'm wanting to do is just bringing in a little bit more definition. Okay, now we get to the cool bit where we bring our water across. Brush that I'm using today is my beloved pointed wash from Sostrene Grene. So let's start across in here. Now this is where hopefully it all just feels like it comes to life. And also the other thing is, because watercolor working best in layers, this is another layer that we are adding. And the color is just going to just erupt for me, which is going to be good. And I look at that. Never ceases to amaze me how much pigment is present in the Inktense. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's just such a joy to use. I'm just going to be able to pull that bank. Now, the other thing I can do is grab some from here, drop it across there, and you know, the colors are going to be, because they're Inktense, are going to be that bit more vibrant, which will change the whole tone of the thing, which I am quite happy for, because this was just a little experiment to see how that Nassau watercolor, you can watch that video, how that Nassau watercolor, you know, works. And I'm deliberately, so there's that, the one that was really the exact match. I'm just mixing it together with the one that is. And that's another thing that I find really enjoyable, is the fact that the colors, you're effectively mixing them on the page. I always tell whenever I'm focusing on what I'm doing. There's that oak coming through as well. And we've got a little bit more of that. Now I think that was maybe the amber tone. But just bringing in just that little bit more definition. Okay, so I'll bring this one up a little bit closer so that you can have a look at it, and we shall do our analysis. Okay, so as you can see, we have got those lines remaining. Now, I love those lines. I appreciate that not everybody does. It seems to be a real Marmite thing, that some people are like, watercolor pencils leave lines. For me, if I don't want lines, then I wouldn't use watercolor pencils. So it just adds in that bit of depth and just makes it feel that bit more alive and a bit more punchy, because the one thing that this one lacked was that it felt all kind of, you know, like they talk about, you know, the teenagers today are all eating beige, their plates are beige. It felt very beige, you know, it was very Magnolia. So this just has added a bit of pizzazz to it and a bit of depth to it, which I'm really pleased with. Now, I want to go on to another one, and this was, I had used the Koh-i-Noor for this next one. So it's really vibrant anyway. So the Derwent Inktense should be just a wonderful match for it. So let's go on to it now. So here's the next one. Again, this was the subject of another video. So what I'm going to do is, this is cerulean blue. This one is the 1010. So it seems just a little bit darker, but I'm happy for this one to just really be changed by the colors that we're using here. So I'm just going to add in just little bits of definition here, and there was some of these marks, remember, across the water. So I'm not using a reference image for this. So this is going to be interesting because I am effectively adding from my memory. And the thing that I love about the night, do you know what? Let's do. Notice how I'm doing sort of scribbly kind of cross hatching in the sky. So my approach is very different to the sky as to what I want to do here. I always remember in Monet's Impression Sunrise, which was the very famous piece that really was the one that was the poster boy for Impressionism. The marks that he made for the water that are just so effective. Okay, so the amber, let's give it a little bit of a sharpen. The amber one again is the 1710. Oh, looks like there's a little obstruction in my sharpener, so we'll just have to go with this. So I'm going with the brush marks here, and just gonna notice the colors that we have and just adding to that, really. Again, using that technique that Moni used so much. Okay, and we're going to go to the oak, the 1730. Now, there was loads of details of trees and things here, which I just want to try and bring some sort of structure to, and just keeping those lovely fluid movements. It's actually a really nice exercise in just being quite free in what you're doing. Okay, so let's take some of this Sicilian yellow, the 220. Okay, and that's actually quite nice. It's making a mark across the darker ones as well. And I can actually take, I was just thinking, you can see how my brain works as I'm doing this. So this is the Payne's Grey 2110, and just get some, because there were some areas that were really dark along this side, which just really want to notice now. And also remember there being this really dark area in the middle of this too. I'm going to take back the Sicilian yellow again. The thing about getting the bespoke set was, I mean, I know the colours that I use the most of, and was able to look in my watercolour set and think, okay, what are the colours that are going to really benefit me most? Okay, we've got oak again. This is 1730. Just working on some of these, I was going to say the horizontals, working on some of the verticals. Let's get in some of the light olivine here. Again, the more... So I'm going to take a flat edge brush for this one. Definitely going to take the flat edge. And I might need to break into my non-bespoke set as well to be able to find... See, just bringing that simple definition across to those areas. And then there's the green in this water. So I'm really hoping that these pencil marks really add to it. Let's go straight to the olivine. That's the nice milky one, 1340. I feel like I'm calling out bingo. And 1340. Just adding in just little bits of points of interest. Okay, let's break into the set that I didn't expect I would get to use today, the 24. Okay, so I'm going to take that violet actually for this section here, and the violet is 0800. I would quite like to sharpen this, but I think that there's a slight obstruction in the... no, there's not, which is tremendous. I like to do everything in real time because this is what happens, isn't it? All these moments of painting, these little bits where we're trying to problem solve through things. Okay, so we've got this violet, and again, just wanting to bring, there's also that violet kind of, you know, let's drop some of that down in here. And also in this section across here too. Right, okay, now, what have we got? We've got willow, beautiful willow. Willow is 1900. And just keeping with this theme of the lines in the water here. I wonder actually if I added some more of that. And I've got iris blue. The Inktense are just incredible. Thank you, Derwent, for bringing them. They're just bringing them to the table. They're just great. And actually, the other thing I can do is add in some of that to this sky as well, and just bring a bit more depth to that. So the whole point of this video is embellishing and the joy of freestyling with this. And let me just bring in some of that blue across here and into this area here. Okay, now there's one last thing that I want to do. Now, because these colours are so bunchy, there it is. The Mustard 1700. The Mustard is this nuts quinacridone, really, in the Inktense pencil. The thing I love about that sharpener is every time you get such a wonderful point. I could make some terrible jokes here, you know, all telling me, get to the point, Colin. So it's not going to be lost in terms of adding this in. Okay, so pencils away, stage complete. Now, let's get adding some water to this. And what I'm going to use for this today is my SAA Flatmate. I think it's a 1/2 inch, and we'll get some water added to this. Okay, so let's make a start. And let's start on this point here, sorry. Oh, a little bit of fluff. So, because the water is going this way, and I think we've talked about brush direction before, but just using that, now I'm just going to pick up on the blues here. And, you know, obviously, part of the joy of this is the moving around of the colours and the mixing of the colours, but just really want to highlight these ones just at the minute. So again, the part that I love about this is the mixture of the process. So getting to draw and then getting to add in again using the brush. I just find that so lovely. Just going to go across here with these. I'm trying too hard to get the flicks there with that one. Just moving the brush across, and you can see now if it was normal watercolor, I would just move it once or twice, but because this is you see there, that's the Payne's grey, and just how much that is kicking off there. Just I agitate it, which is lovely, and then not being too concerned about keeping the colours separate anymore, just can lift the pigment and move it across. There's that lovely purpley tone, which is just gorgeous. Okay, so let's look at the sky here. It's going to agitate this colour. Yeah, isn't that lovely? I just think it's so special. I think these watercolor pencils, and I know that there's I always feel like I need to not call them watercolor pencils, because a couple of viewers didn't like that, but actually to me they're water. The pigment is released by water, whether it's ink based or not. It's just wonderful. And so going to move across here. This is probably going to bring quite a more ethereal feel to this painting, I think, as well. Just wanting to see if we can get a couple of seconds. Now there is going to be like a bleeding of colours as well. So there's that beautiful purple. Look at that explode there. I'm going to do that across here too, because it's just lovely, isn't it? Just adding in such depth. And I think the freedom that I feel with this, particularly because a lot of my colours tend to be much more muted than this, so I'm just agitating these as we go along, just moving it about. The permission that I feel, I guess, is that because the Koh-i-Noor brilliant watercolours are so much more vibrant, then that the vibrancy is not lost or wasted. Just changing the brush direction there. The vibrancy is not of the Inktense is not lost, or does it seem out of place with what's going on here. That's the sienna light. Just touching it as we go. And also just some little marks. Now, as this is all kind of soaked in together and settles, then it's just going to add in that bit more definition, which is exactly what we were looking for. So we'll just let them work away. But that's all I want to do. The other thing I want to show is as well, I mean, I don't know whether I've shown this a lot, but because the page is now wet, then obviously you can go in and just go, okay, well, there's some other areas, because then the pencil is that bit more activated. You can just touch on just certain areas there, and it's going to embellish it. I was about to put that in the pin pot. Embellish it that little bit more. So let's bring that in a little bit closer so you can all have a closer look. So the wonderful thing for me is, if you can see there, is the fact that it's all sort of blending, which is quite nice together. And also then you've got the remainder of some of these marks here, the pencil marks, but they are also getting absorbed in. Most notably, the pencil marks are here. Actually, and there's not really very much else apart from in this area here, but just giving that lovely greater depth feel. And also one of my favorite bits is in this sky, just that kind of cross hatching that is still visible even though the ink has been agitated by the water.
Well, what did you think? These little powerful pencils, which are just phenomenal. If you can get the bespoke pack and get the wee tin, sucker for a tin, absolutely love a tin, are just such a wonderful tool to embellish the watercolours that you've already done. Now, I appreciate that the purists among us might go, well, no, I don't want to mix the media. Where do I stand on all that? I think that you want to do whatever you feel gets the job done, and that I am forever saying that I don't believe that there is proper use. I believe that there is common use, and these little gems are just wonderful to embellish, to add those little bits of flair, to deepen the darkest colours, to make the other ones, you know, like those yellows, that Sicilian yellow I think that I have in this little pack, to just highlight that a little bit in those reeds. Just a real joy, and that whole childlike wonder of being able to draw something and then to be able to add water to it and just watch it come to life is wonderful. So give it a go. I mean, I appreciate that these are quite expensive, but they are really, really good, and it's a lovely way, let me say it again, to embellish your watercolors. So you can let me know your results. I would love to see them. You can send them to woodwardswatercolors@gmail.com, and I can then pop that up in my community if you're interested. Do hit the wee bell icon and you'll be notified of videos when they drop, and don't forget to like and subscribe. For all information about all the different things that I do, you can head to www.woodwardswatercolors.co.uk. But for now, it's bye for me, and I'm going to look at other watercolors and think, is there anywhere else I need to embellish? Bye for now.